Carl Munson here, host of the Good Morning Portugal radio show. Looking a little dishevelled, I agree with you. That's on account of being up till about 3 this morning, launching Mrs Munson's new Patreon page, her Feel Good Astrology Patreon page, which, believe it or not, I'm very, very happy about. So congratulations to Louisa for doing that. And we launched at an astrologically appropriate time, which was just after midnight. Then we got talking. And I was going to say one thing led to another, but that's not what I mean. But anyway, Feel Good Astrology successfully launched on patreon.com. Check it out, Louisa Tanner Munson. But then she took poorly this morning and has given us a new line of inquiry on the Good Morning Portugal radio show, which is navigating the Portuguese health system. And this is going to be a collaborative effort. I'm very happy to look at this for the Pure Portugal podcast, for the Good Morning Portugal radio show, for my Patreon page, which is all about finding out things to help you live the most enjoyable life in Portugal, or visiting or staying in Portugal. And obviously navigating the health system is one of those things, but it's quite complex, as you might imagine, especially for Brits who are just used to bowling into the nearest surgery or hospital with their problems, and having grown up just knowing that it will be sorted and there is no charge. Incredible national health system, God bless you, and all who work in you. But it's a different story over here. That's not to say there aren't public hospitals, where I believe there are small charges. And this is the sort of thing that we need to talk about here, possibly. I'll be talking to my man, Michael Heron, tomorrow, the Good Morning Portugal news anchorman, who will be available to us every week with updates on culture and news. But I'm sure he's got something to say, having lived in Portugal for a few years now, about the health system. So just to keep it fairly brief, and to find out what you want to know and to find out what you already know, we'll take a hive mind approach here. What I discovered this morning is that the E111 system for EU citizens, I believe that's an EU-wide system where you can use what used to be called the E111, I think it's the E11C or something along those lines, but you'll know what I mean. It's a little plastic card that helps you qualify for healthcare across the EU, presumably, as part of the great EU project. Now that's, as far as I know so far, is only going to work in a public hospital here, not a private one. And we went to a private one first. We went to one conveniently located in our nearest shopping centre, which is how it goes, I guess, with private healthcare. So I imagine that's an American model. And we were told there that they couldn't do any emergency stuff. Louisa has an awkward infection that is a bit worrying. So we wanted to get it checked out and get the best medical minds looking at it as soon as possible. Make sure she was okay, obviously. And they encouraged us to head across the water to Lisbon to their also private hospital where there was an emergency admission. Now, that's the first thing you notice, is it might be that you don't go to the nearest hospital, you go to the nearest one where they might still make a profit, without wanting to sound too cynical. But that's the reality of a private health system, isn't it? But talking man to man to the wonderful nurse we met there, he very kindly, because I think he took pity on us, not knowing what was really going on and looking a bit dishevelled and worried and anxious, suggested other options, including public hospital or other private alternatives, God bless him. So we went to the next nearest, because we were using Ubers, I haven't got a hire car at the moment, so we got an Uber to the nearest private hospital, and turns out everything's okay. She's gonna be fine, and she's gonna have a course of the dreaded antibiotics, for which we received a bill of around €140. Okay, now that's the first thing, isn't it? I mean, that's what they want to do in the UK. They want to start charging people, especially for the small amounts and for the day-to-day sort of stuff. They want to bring charges in if they haven't done that already, I'm not sure. So you're up against initial consultation fee in the order of €100, and then whatever tests on top of that. So we're looking at 140-ish euros. Now, what I understand is I'm a Revolut card user, and I'm thinking, well, maybe I use my insurance, my overseas insurance on that. But then there's a question of, like, the T's and C's of insurance. Are you on holiday or not? I'm not strictly speaking on holiday. I am away from home, I'm overseas. Oh, a hoopoe bird has just flown past. What an auspicious thing. So I'm not a tourist exactly. I'm away, working away, and so I'm technically not a tourist. So, insurance companies want to be careful how they spend their money, and presumably I wouldn't be eligible as a tourist or someone stranded overseas needing urgent medical attention, and with a Revolut policy, which is part of their premium system. Revolut's a fantastic system for managing money, but we're talking about health here, and they offer a health insurance, overseas health insurance, but I'm not sure about the T's and C's on there. So as it turns out, probably the best option is to get local health insurance. And I rather naively asked about health insurance at the desk of this hospital. It would appear that instead of paying €140, I would only pay about 40, and the rest would be covered by insurance. The premiums for health insurance, roughly speaking, are about €40 a month, and for a family, maybe €100 a month. So that's a culture we're going to have to get used to and adopt, I suspect. It makes a lot of sense. And that's a question for the hive mind here, is if you are using medical insurance in Portugal, what's your best supplier? What's your favoured supplier? And I understand it's a service that's found at banks, and you sign up at the bank. So that may well be, rather than trying to go the E111 route, which we could do, it seems that the service is very good in the private hospitals here, I have to say, because we have used another one as well. And it is a real culture shift, for me anyway. I know people have been using private hospitals in the UK for years. Some people have, and there's Bupa there, but it's completely new to me. And that's the thing, isn't it, about the NHS in the UK, is that people aren't forced to go private, whereas here it's a different setup. So it's likely you probably will go private if you want probably a faster service, which is the usual criteria, isn't it, for making the transition, or a different kind of service. So that's where we are so far. It looks likely that an expat living in Portugal would take advantage of a private healthcare system. Question is, which one? Which one, if you're here, are you using? Which one would you recommend? What stories have you heard about the various health insurance purveyors, suppliers, and just generally your experiences of using the Portuguese health system? As with all health systems, I suspect you're dealing with human beings who are caring people, and we have had nothing but lovely people who we've met. As is the case, generally in the country. It's just the same in the health service here. It's been great. The people that we've encountered, and as far as I know, who Louisa has encountered as well, have been great and helpful people. And there is a discernible difference going private, because I guess the business plan is all worked out, and they know everything is costed in. Whereas the understandable and dreaded fixation in the NHS, of course, is how much is this going to cost? Let's do it as quickly as possible. Let's do it as efficiently as possible. So you get a different context for the care you get. And the sense I get from all you toffs who've been using private healthcare, or people lucky enough to have that as part of their working conditions, will know this. I'm a bit new and naive about it, and just finding out. But specifically want to know who you'd recommend in Portugal, which was an incredibly long-winded question. Hope you'll join me on Wednesday, where we may have a little bit to share about that. Join me for the first hour on Wednesday, where we're playing your favourite tunes. The folks on Expats in Portugal have been getting busy sending me a few tunes and their favourite requests. We're building a playlist. Now that's what I call expats or immigrants or people abroad in Portugal. So we have been getting a few expat and immigrant related tunes there, which have been, I started off with the Simmertones that I was very proud to premiere in Portugal last week. Travelling Man, an entirely appropriate expat tune, Travelling Man. But lots of others have been coming in, and I look forward to sharing those with you on Wednesday in the first hour. And in a chatty second hour or so, where we'll have a news roundup with Michael Heron and talk about all things Portuguese from an expat, immigrant and settler, or even visitor point of view. I hope you can join me then. The sun's coming out. It seems to be burning the side of my face. I'll leave you to it. Bye for now.